Pre-earth incarnation, everything is a choice. You chose everything. Not all of the experiences that you'll encounter in life, because a lot of this stuff you're not responsible for. You chose a specific course, a direction. You can call it destiny, fate, karma, whatever you want to call it. I don't believe in the names, but the premise is true to an extent. But you're not responsible for everything going on around you or everything that happens in your life. It isn't predestined for you to do these things. What will be the point? Then you're not learning anything new. It's like a looping exercise. Why would you want to join in on something like that? The premise of this video is to allow you to understand within yourself. Now listen to me closely. I'm speaking pre-earth incarnation, when your soul was still formless, shapeless, not physical, before it incarnated in human form. That's what I'm speaking. You chose everything. You chose your physical characteristics, attributes, idiosyncrasies, traits, habits, all of it. You chose your gender, the color of your flesh, all of that was chosen. Your sexual preference, all of it was already chosen. You chose your parents, everything. You chose your family, who was going to be the mother, the father, what roles you guys were going to play. In your last life, you could have been your mother in this life. You could have been the mother, and your mother could have been your son in the last life. It's just like a mix and match. Like this time around, you could be the son, and you have your mother who is your mother. But in the last life, it could have been switched, where your mother was your son and you were the mother. It doesn't matter. But nonetheless, what I'm trying to say in this video is that you consciously chose everything. Pre-earth incarnation, before your soul entered into the physical womb, the firth, which is the entrance to all life. Because without woman, there is no man and there is no nothing. All right, so let's get that straight. Now, what I'm speaking of is after the fact that you were born into this world. After that, it is the choices that you made pre-earth incarnation that you have to live with. Now, this is the reason why you have a heterosexual man and a heterosexual woman who get married and they have, let's say, 10 kids. Now, let's say 1 out of the 10 is what society classifies as homosexual. Now, how could that be? After all, you have a heterosexual man and a heterosexual woman bringing in to this world heterosexual children, right? But if you notice, each child has their own distinct character and personality. Born of the same parents, but they're all totally different personalities. How could that be? I wonder. Pre-earth incarnation, I guess. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make with this video is that after you're born, it's not a choice. Before you come to earth, it is your choice. You did choose it. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's irrelevant. I'm telling you, the truth negates belief. The only way you'll know what I'm saying is the truth is when you pass and then you realize that, wow, that guy on YouTube, he was right. I did choose all this stuff. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. The reason why you have that one person that was, by their own volition, chose to, play that role that society's going to condemn or ostracize or make a pariah as homosexual. You're a creation of God. Everything comes from source. Homosexuality, bisexuality, heterosexuality. As I've asked people before, did you choose heterosexuality after you were born? No. Before you came to earth? Absolutely. But the point of this video is that people don't just choose to do things after they're born. Like people seem to think that homosexuality is just like a choice or something you learn from others or you're just exploring a curiosity. No, what's actually happening is back in my time, when people, with regards to people who are homosexual, they actually had to hide it. Back in those days, if you were outwardly or an extrovert in showing your homosexuality, you could be killed. So that's why individuals that were homosexual had to hang out in clubs in the city. They had to stay in little tight-knit groups to themselves out of fear of being murdered. And it still goes on to this day in Jamaica. They'll burn you alive to death if they find out you're homosexual. And that's a straight truth. That's a straight truth right there. Even look at Rastafarianism. They condemn homosexuality as an abomination in the eyes of God, as if it's evil or something. It's all garbage, all that stuff. Any ism except optimism is a schism. And no, I'm not talking about autism. I'm just speaking in a figurative sense as far as energy. That's what I'm talking about. But anyway, When you get these people like, well, I never knew it that he was gay. I don't know. It must have been something he chose. No, the individual just got sick and tired of not being themselves. This is what this is what folks go through that society labels and classifies as homosexuals. I don't have that garbage. You're just a beautiful human being exactly the way God made you. Forget the labels. But when you hide who you are, that energy cannot be repressed. It has to be expressed to its fullest potential in the physical. So you reach a point where you're getting sick and freaking tired of playing a lie, hiding yourself, and not being true to yourself. You're debasing and prostituting yourself by not expressing who and what you are and the way you were meant to do it and in the manner it was meant to be conveyed in this world. That's what your contribution to this fabric will give us, the diversification of this planet. By repressing the true nature of who and what you really are, you are stifling your own sense of creativity, worth, value, everything, your self-love, all of it. It's just crushed because you're too afraid. But back in the day, I didn't blame them because they could be freaking murdered and have their family murdered, the house burned down, everything. And it still holds true to this day, except that society is a little more acceptable to these things. Oh, thank you so much, society. Really appreciate it. Like I needed your acceptance in the first place, you know? And that's the reason why these types of individuals who have to go through this stuff that society classifies as homosexual, they have to hide themselves out of fear of not even being ostracized and ridiculed and made a pariah, out of fear of being freaking murdered. Even to this day, you get couples, like two women that are married. They're afraid to show their affection to each other in public out of fear of being hurt. Two men, knowing full well that this society, discourages affection, first off, and especially discourages homosexual affection. Oh my God, that's just the devil's work on earth. But anyway, this is the reason why people seem to think that just because the person looked heterosexual and what they call normal, the be fruitful and multiply mentality, just because they did that, they were actually very clever. They used to say, back in the day, coming out of the closet. It's an archaic term. But, in the greater sense of the words, it is true because you have to hide yourself away, because the society wasn't accepting of it because they weren't allowed to be. Because the very cult that conditioned their mind, that's still doing it now, told them back then, that's evil. If you see it, kill it. Just like when you see a dandelion pop up on your lawn, your first instinct is to kill it. Why? Because it's a weed. You don't see it as what it is. It's not a beautiful flower. Why don't you go take your cell phone and get a close-up, a super close-up of a dandelion, and you tell me if that's a disgusting, ugly weed. It's a gorgeous flower. The only reason why you want to kill it is because it looks different than everything else around it. That's also the dilemma of black folks, by the way. You know what I mean? Which, by the way, they're the original indigenous tribes of the Earthlings, if you didn't know that. And the reptilians know it. That's why they get everybody to ostracize them. If you haven't figured that out yet, that's why Jesus, when he walked the earth, he walked it as a black man. Hair of wool, skin of bronze, folks. You got to listen. Anywho, what I'm trying to say with this before I end it is that people don't just decide to be gay after they arrive on earth. This was determined before they incarnated in human form. But after that birth, it's all a matter of you living with those decisions, which is beautiful because that gives us the diversification of this planet, the mosaic tapestry, like I say. But the Bible ostracizes individuals such as these, makes them a pariah by saying that homosexuality is an abomination in the eyes of God. Why is that? Because two men cannot make a baby, two women cannot make a baby. So therefore, the religious tax-exempt corporations have no use for you. Because you can't make a newer generation for them to manipulate, monopolize, and control, and also to take the children and do God knows what with. That's why there's something like 14 million children around the world go missing. Where do you think they're going? They're just walking off the planet into outer space? It's not outer space, by the way. It's inner space. But anyway, there it is in a nutshell. People just get to that point in their life where they're sick and tired of not being themselves, not being true to themselves, and not being in alignment with exactly who and what they are, what they were meant to do on this earth. So they just say, F it. And they're just like it or not, here I come. This is me. I remember back in the day, all those Hollywood stars, a lot of them were homosexuals. These were the he-men of the day. Rock Hudson, all of these guys. They hit it. They had to. Not only fear of ramifications, repercussions, but also their career would be just destroyed. I mean, the insiders knew who they were, but they couldn't afford for their publicists and the image that they're projecting to be cast as, because back then homosexuals were believed to be gay and weak, and that's all garbage. Who cares what person you want to sleep with? That's your business, man. It doesn't make you any less of a human being. It makes you a better human being that you're expressing yourself honestly. As far as I'm concerned, I love it. Love is doesn't know any boundaries, man. It isn't to say that love is blind. Love isn't blind. Love is true vision. We see two men kissing, two women kissing, a man and a woman kissing. Who freaking cares? Love is love. That's why God gave it to us, to be shared, not to, it has to be a man. A love is only between a man and a woman. Well, that's what the system told you. Because they say, be fruitful and multiply. Because they need the newer generations for a lot of reasons. But anyway, to end the video, this is the reason why somebody for years and years and years seemed to be straight and normal. And that's another term I'd like to address. Straight. What does that mean? That homosexuality is crooked? Are you catching on? That's why they even get them to refer to themselves as queer. They're not queer. They're a beautiful human being because God doesn't make mistakes. But this is the reason why you can know somebody for like 20 years and all of a sudden, boom, they just decide I had enough. And they just, I'm not hiding myself anymore. It isn't a curiosity they're exploring inside themselves. It's actually the very individuality that they buried inside themselves to hide away from the eyes of society in fear of being ostracized and killed and murdered as a pariah. And bigotry, racism, prejudice, hatred still very much exist, and it's not ever going to go away. It's just neatly disguised as, okay, this is socially acceptable. We'll go with this because the reptilians said we're allowed to. So no, I guess I have to accept homosexuality. But how many parents have rejected their children for being gay because of their social programming mechanism? Your own child that you brought into this world of your own flesh and blood, you threw away because society says gay is broken, get rid of them. Really? You see how deep this programming garbage goes, folks? I hope so. Because it doesn't just stop at ostracizing people for certain sexual preferences. It goes way beyond that. But that veil between reality and illusion, truth and lies, it's coming down. And their empire is going to start to crack and crumble because it's doing it already. They can't hold on to it anymore. It's not to say that they won't give it the old college try, because they will, but their time is done. And they know it because people are starting to realize what's going on and they've had enough. And when you begin to feel the real pinch and the push and the pressure of what they have intended for you for real, that's when you're going to get your back to the wall and you're going to see it's going to be stand and fight or die, man. And you're not going to have a choice because what they have slated for you ain't nothing pretty, brother and sister. I'm telling you. But anyway, this is the reason why you know somebody for 20 years, all of a sudden, I didn't know he was gay. Well, he was homosexual the whole time. He's just hiding it because he didn't want to be beat up and killed. That's basically it. Because society at that time wasn't accepting of these types of individuals who are labeled and classified and, all that garbage. But anyway, I ask, did you choose heterosexuality after you were born? No. You chose it before you came to Earth, and that's the truth. Just like everything else. But anyway, just something to think about. God bless.